Can independent venues survive without taking a merch cut from artists? Merch cuts is the controversial topic of current days. Can independent venues survive? Can they compete with Live Nation's proposal of wanting to give artists 100% of their merch, letting them keep their merch? So in this video, we're going to quickly look at what the program is that Live Nation launched that caused all the uproar by independent venues, saying that Live Nation is trying to squeeze them out of business. We'll take a quick look of my friend Ari Herstand. He had a great interview with the general manager of the Brooklyn Bowl, and in that interview, he really pushed the GM on merch cuts. So we'll take a quick look at a clip of that. And then, of course, as always, the numbers don't lie, right? So we'll look at some numbers, and then also we'll take a quick look at some solutions. What could venues do instead? If merch cuts was off the table, if that was not an option, what could venues do instead? So what caused all this uproar to even begin with? So Live Nation launched this On the Road Again program along with Willie Nelson that basically is trying to encourage independent artists to stay on the road. Independent artists are the lifeblood of the music industry, the touring industry. It keeps the venues open. It keeps people working. It keeps people going to the restaurants of the independent venues, and if they have a restaurant. But it just keeps the industry going on a daily basis, right? And Live Nation decided it's better for artists to stay on the road than to take the squeeze of the economy and decide, hey, we're going to do something else. We're not going to be on the road anymore, right? So they're trying to encourage artists to stay on the road. So what are they offering? They're offering them 100% of merch. So the artists will keep all their merch, not taking a single cut. In addition, they will give $1,500 per show in gas and travel cash for all headliners and openers on top of nightly performance compensation. And this is very true, right? So the thing is, nobody knows how long this program is. This program could literally run out at any moment. There's no advertised deadline for this program. However, having been, and I've been on both sides. I've been on the independent promoter side. I've worked for Live Nation and AEG. I've currently am managing an artist that's playing AEG and Live Nation venues. And I will say it is so nice that after you play a show and work really, really hard to hustle your merch and try to upsell on merch, to actually keep 100% of your merch, right? We did a show recently at a Live Nation venue in Charlotte. And this, how recent? So this, as of this recording, the timestamp this was in early December of 2023, right? So literally a couple weeks ago as of this recording, we got to keep 100% of merch, and they gave us $750 in gas cards and $750 cash. I will tell you, as much as I love the independent venues and I want to support independent venues and promoters however I can. I mean, I do through this channel and on the Patreon page on where we coach independent promoters and venues. As much as I love that, it's really, really nice to get handed that much money, right? $750 in cash and $750 in gas cards. That pays for a lot of expenses for an independent promoter, which, yes, it does make it really challenging for independent venues to compete with that, right? However, nobody knows how long this program is. So the plus side. There's some other benefits with this program as well, right? So NEVA, the National Independent Venue Alliance or Association, they came out and they pushed back against this program. And they're basically saying, I'll read the statement in a second. They're basically saying that Live Nation is not doing this with the best of intentions. They're not doing this to keep independent artists alive. They're doing it to squeeze out their competition, right? So the statement from NEVA was, temporary measures may appear to help artists in the short run, but actually can squeeze out independent venues, which provide the lifeblood of many artists on thin margins. Independent venues and promoters are investing in and elevating up-and-coming artists every day, which is true. And NEVA is supporting those efforts nationally. And it's a very true argument, right? So quick side tangent. There's a very true argument because most of the venues that most independent artists are going to be playing are independent venues. They're not Live Nation and AEG venues. So the statement goes on. The initiative announced yesterday may seem like a move to follow the lead of some independent venues. It is not that. Instead, it appears to be a calculated attempt to use a publicly traded conglomerates' immeasurable resources to divert artists from independent venues and further consolidate control over the live entertainment sector. Such tactics threaten the vitality of small and medium sized venues under 3,000 capacity, many of which will struggle to keep their doors open. Seems like a very drastic statement over merch cuts, right? Not a $1,500 grants, basically, or bonus that they're adding to the artist. That is the hard part to compete with. But merch cuts, I'm not sure if merch cuts is the reason, right? That this will squeeze in independent venues. We'll continue with the statement. Independent stages where the majority of artists, musicians, and comedians start their careers, is true, are small businesses and nonprofits. They are continually facing rising costs, increased deceptive ticketing practices in the resale market, and ongoing challenges following the global pandemic. Now, side tangent, increased deceptive ticketing practices in the resale market. Yes, the resale market is a challenge. However, if you are creative, there is solutions around that. There's plenty of solutions when you look into blockchain ticketing or not just blockchain ticketing, but also what is the word? Um, I'm blanking on the word. There's several artists that have used this, even for Foo Fighters. It's basically tickets that you can't resell, right? Unresellable tickets. There's a specific term that I'm trying to think of, but basically, like you can make a ticket not be resellable, right? So you can fight the unethical practices of the resale market. So statement goes on. Our stages are critical to live entertainment ecosystem and local economies, and they must survive. The economics of touring must drastically improve for artists and independent venues. There has to be a better way. NEVA will continue to support artists and empower independent venues as we collectively find fit. Now, good statement. A lot of really important things being said there. Again, merch cuts. If merch cuts is the reason that you think you're going to go out of business, there's better ways, right? There's better ways. Maybe as you're first starting out, and we'll go a little bit deeper in that in just a second when we look at some numbers. But here is a quick clip that I mentioned where Ari Herstand, good, good creator out there and fights for the independent artist, has a really great podcast and blog, Ari's Take. And in this conversation, he's talking to Sarah Barnett of Brooklyn Bowl, who is the GM over there. So it's a quick 1-minute clip that he posted on TikTok from the whole entire interview. I'll throw a reference link to the description of the video below, so you have access to the entire interview. But here is the clip real quick.
Do you think it's ethical to keep 15% of the artist's merch and not give a percentage of your F&B to the artist that is filling your venue with their fans?
Well, we give them, the deal that's made with the artist. I mean, the deal was made with the agent and the booker ahead of time, and hopefully they can make a fair deal for them so that they're getting, their fair share of the ticket revenue. So.
Right, but you also keep fees. The fees are not passed on to the artist. The fees go to the venue and the promoter. I mean, they go to the venue and the ticketing company, but the fees do not go to the artist. The fees are going to the venue and the ticketing platform. And so it's not super transparent when, you said the majority of the ticketing revenue goes to the artist, because that's when you look at it and there's a deal memo or a settlement form that says, oh, the artist got 80% of tickets. That's not actually accurate when you really break down what the fan paid.
Now, really great. Like the entire interview was really good. Right? It went to a bunch of different other topics, but one of the key things about the reasoning why they're taking a cut from artists, right? That from Sarah Barnett, is it's another way to make revenue. Venues don't make a lot of revenue on tickets, right? Which is true, but it's also very not revealing the entire truth, right? And it's said they have a restaurant in addition to make some revenue, right, which helps out. So it is very, very true. As an independent promoter, as someone that even has worked for the big promoters, right, that about 50 to 70% of net revenue after sales tax and fees, 50 to 7% goes to the artist. If you have a good deal, I've seen deals where the artist gets 40% of the net box office receipts, right? But if you have a good deal, between 50 and 70% of the MBR will go to the artist. The rest of the ticket money will pay for the show. So yes, 90 to 99% of all the ticket revenue, just face value ticket, does go to pay for the show. So there isn't much profit. However, and I've gone into depth and I probably need to do an updated video on this. However, venues do make money on other revenue streams, and that's how they survive, right? So one of those they're arguing is the taking a cut from artists. In that interview with Ari, Sarah also mentioned that they also discussed that at the box office, if you walk to the box office, there should be no fees. And there really shouldn't. There's some states that don't allow that, right? Because it's false advertising. Because somewhere you have to offer a ticket at face value. I'm not sure which states this still exists in. It used to be in Florida, but apparently now in Florida also, you can add a service fee. So at this venue, at the Brooklyn Bowl, they added $3 ticket fee on top of the face value. So if you buy a $25 ticket, $3 on top is a $28 ticket that you pay at the box office. Much less than going online, but it's still an additional fee, right? So even if all the tickets sold at the box office, let's say you sell 1,000 tickets of the 1,200, that's $3,000 coming in at the box office. That's pure profit to the venue that does not get shared with the artist. And then there's other revenue streams, which we'll get to in just a second. So since we're talking about numbers, let's take a look at what the numbers look like, right? Because the numbers really, they don't lie. They tell the truth. So how much money are we even talking about? I think that's a really important thing to figure out, right? Let me see if I can move myself. Okay, let me just move this over a little bit. Well, I'll keep it here. Okay. Anyways, so here's a merch split calculation sheet, right? And if you want this, I'll throw this on the Patreon. For a pinch of $1, right? Give me $1 a month, and I'll share this sheet with you. I'll throw a link to the Patreon on the bottom, but there's a bunch of other cool videos over on Patreon. But yeah, if you want this sheet, it's a quick little merch split calculator. If you want to add your logo to the top right here, so add your band logo, artist logo here. You would enter the show date here, or the show name, the date. Formula's already plugged in. If you want this, again, $1, unless you want to create it yourself. It's a pretty easy sheet to create. But let's say you did $8,000.66 or $8,066 in merch at a 1,000 capacity venue, like the Brooklyn Bowl, as the example in the video with Ari. Where did I get that number from? At Venue, really popular platform where a lot of artists use to inventory their merch, sell their merch. Not an endorsement for At Venue. They don't support the YouTube channel or the podcast, even though they maybe should. But it's a story for another day. In 2023, this was as of police articles updated in June. So in 2023, the average per head number is 866. So that's where I got that number from, right? So technically, this should be 8,660. So that is the average per person in merch, right? So with no deduction. So basically what I'm going to argue for here is that you should deduct anything you can before that split takes place. But traditionally, you have 8,660 in merch. You take out sales tax, gives you $8,000. And from that $8,000, venues like the Brooklyn Bowl or other venues, it's not just against the Brooklyn Bowls, any venue taking a cut, but 15% is their merch cut, which is pretty standard. They're usually between 15 and 20%, which means out of your $8,000, they would get $1,200, and you would walk away with $6,847, right? So there's a few deductions I will argue for if I'm on the artist side, right? So if you're the artist, so some quick numbers before I go to the other tab. If the venue's taking 15%, right, and you have a manager taking 15%, it's another $1,200 to the manager, right? So that brings this down to $5,600. And you have cost of goods, right? Your merch that you're selling has a cost to it. 30% is a good number for cost of goods, right? So I have that number on the other tab. So just jump over to the other tab and make this 8660. So cost of goods is 2,500, right? So go back to this tab. So let's say you take out another 1,200. That brings us down to 56. Then we take out 25, right? So that's 2,100. You're only making $2,100, and you have credit card fees, and you have sellers. You ain't making shit on merch if you let them take a straight percentage from the net, right, after sales tax. So you need to deduct some other things as an artist if you want to survive out there on the road, right, and trying to have that revenue stream of merch. And especially if you're averaging under that 866, you definitely want to fight for as much as you can on the merch side, right? So definitely you should take out credit card fees as well, right? So you have your gross here again, 8660. Take out the sales tax. whatever it is in the city and state you're selling it in, brings you your net after tax, right? You should take a straight percentage, whether it's 3% or it's 3.25%, to cover yourself. Do 3.5%. Start there, and you should take 3.5% off of the gross, right, which is 303. Then you deduct your sellers, and if you go to the venue and ask them for a seller, they'll charge you 150. So you charge them 150, right? So if I have 2 sellers, I'm going to deduct also $300. I'm also going to try to deduct 30% for cost of goods. Now that brings my merch down to $48.54. So I am not willing, but if I have to give them a cut of merch, I'll give them 15% of that, and they'll just have to live with that, right? So $728 instead of $1,200. So you're saving $500 there. If you're playing 100 shows a year, right? That's a really big chunk of change that you're saving if you're taking all of these deductions out. So the sales tax, credit card fees, merch sellers, and your cost of goods. Doing some quick math for the venue side, right? So what the venues are arguing for. So let's say they are nice and they will let you deduct the seller. Let's say you get to deduct credit cards, which unless you ask for it, they will not deduct it, right? And unless you ask for the seller, they will not deduct it. The only thing that they will deduct is the sales tax. So you have to ask for these two things for sure. And I've never had a scenario where I asked to deduct those things where they didn't, right? So 100% success rate so far in deducting at least the credit card fees and the seller. The cost of goods is a new thing that I'm going to try. But anyways, what the venues are arguing for is $1,100, $1,150 a show. A really good, busy venue like the Brooklyn Bowl was probably doing at best 150 shows. At very best, right? Honestly, 10 shows a month probably is what they're doing, right? Of shows that are doing 1,000 tickets a piece. So let's just do 120. So we're talking about $138,000. This is what they're arguing for. $138,000 is going to make or break their business. I don't buy it. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. $138,000 is not going to make or break their business. There's other ways. There's so many other ways for venues to make money. And they do, right? So Michael Rapino from Live Nation talks about this all the time. Their ticket sales is not how they make money. Merch splits is not how they make money, right? And I don't know, I've talked about this on the podcast or YouTube channel before, but one of the main reasons why Live Nation is happily giving up the merch, because they don't consider it as a revenue stream that's make or break for them. Now, yeah, if you're an independent artist and you're just starting out, right? Or an independent promoter, I'm sorry. If you're an independent promoter and you're just starting out and you're going to venues and you're getting shitty deals at venues, and this is if independent venues really care about being the lifeblood of the industry, then give independent promoters better deals, because their deals are bullshit, right? So give independent promoters a shot, for one, so they can have other revenue streams. Give them a promoter bump, cut them in on service fees, give them something, right? Especially if they start doing volume with your venue. If you really care about the lifeblood of the business, support your independent promoters that don't have the finances to own venues, because if it wasn't for them, then the industry also wouldn't exist, right? So it's not just about the independent venues, the independent promoters we got to support as well. And these are also the startup promoters, right? So promoters that are watching these videos, promoters that are coming on the Making It Academy, or similar promoters that maybe for whatever reason don't want to join the academy because they just come in here for some tips, right? Support your independent promoters. You really care about the industry, freaking support them, right? Give them better deals. Stop overcharging them for rent. Start not cutting them in on any other revenue streams, because they can't survive either if they're only relying on a 5 to 10% profit on tickets, right? They really have to cut some really good deals, and they have to really get creative on other revenue streams for themselves. So don't give me that bullshit. You care about the lifeblood of the industry, because independent promoters are also the lifeblood of the industry. So it's a quick rant. So other revenue streams. I'm a big believer that every independent venue should be a nonprofit. In the NEA Statement, they argued that a lot of independent venues are nonprofits. However, take that piece off the top of the table for a second. Other revenue streams for independent venues. Service fees, right? Brooklyn Bowl, $3 per ticket. If you buy at the box office, you sell 1,000 tickets, that's $3,000 a show. $3,000 a show, let's do that math. $3,000 a show times 120. That's 360 grand, right? That's a much, much bigger revenue stream than taking a cut out of the merch. if you're selling all your tickets online, on average, let's say you have a $25 ticket. On average, these tickets these days have a 30% fee. $750 of that, they're getting at least half, right? So take, say, $375 times $1,000 times 120 shows. Talking about $450,000. Talking about $500,000 that they're making off of service fees. Then they're getting the bar, right? Concessions. Then, if they're smart, they're also getting sponsorships. They should be selling sponsorships. I have independent promoters that are getting $500 to $1,000 a show on sponsorships because they're selling them as a series. There's a lot of creative ways to sell sponsorships when you're selling them as a series. You don't have to do it on show-by-show basis. It could be a series of shows. It could be a series based on genre, could be the summertime series, series based on season. You can get very creative with sponsorships, and it is definitely worthwhile if you don't have the experience in sponsorships and find yourself a sponsor person that you pay on commission that can, and maybe a decent salary to start off with, that can find these sponsorships for you, because that's a giant revenue stream you're missing out on if that's not something you're looking into. Because a lot of companies want to reach music fans because music's cool. People want to be part of the music industry. The other rant is, if you're arguing over 150 grand a year or 120 grand a year on merch cuts at a really busy, successful venue, I mean, we're not in the business to get rich, right? Most people are in the music business because they love music, because we love this industry, and we just want everybody to survive and everybody to make it in this industry. If you want to get rich, go find another industry. Music industry is not for it. I'm in it because I freaking love it, right? And I know I can make more money in other industries and selling marketing tips and strategies, doing something else, but it's not fulfilling. The music industry is fulfilling. It's fun, right? We are changing lives. We're creating great experiences. If that's why we're in this industry, we're not in it to get rich, right? Yes, we want to stay in business, but arguing over merch cuts, it's not the way. So service fees, F&B, sponsorships. 3 main revenue streams that Live Nation always talks about. 3 main revenue streams that I see independent promoters use. Again, independent promoters, you can get a promoter bump from the venue. Since the venue is getting those service fees and F&B, ask for $1 or $2 per ticket. Maybe you say it's $1 per ticket that we get, and then if we do 10 shows a year, we get $2 a ticket. If we 20 shows a year, give us $3 a ticket, right? Give us something. Help us stay in business as well. The last thing I'll say is nonprofit piece. If you become a nonprofit, now you'll have other revenue streams, right? You can sell memberships to your venue where people get exclusive access to things. And you can do that regardless. Even if you're not a nonprofit, if you create a Patreon page for your venue or some kind of membership program and you're creative, you can you easily make up that 120, 150 grand a year for a busy venue. For a not so busy venue, if you're doing 40 to 50 a year on merch cuts, maybe even 20 and be more realistic, you can easily make that up doing Patreon or some kind of membership program. You're just got to get more creative, right? How to monetize your venue. Second, as a nonprofit, grant money. You can get grants, right? Third, you can get donors. Have people donate to your venue. People want to support the arts all the time. People always want to have their name on a venue, a name inside a venue on a wall or whatever else. They want to be part of donor parties with other successful people in the community that love live music. So there's so many creative ways. Merch cuts is not the way to fund your business and to try to stay alive. So I want to challenge the independent venues out there that think that Live Nation is trying to squeeze them to also become more creative on how to have other revenue streams, support your independent artists, and then support some independent promoters. Let them into your venues, make it easier for them, especially if you're not booking 200 days out of the year, 250 days out of the year. If you have dates left on the calendar, help the industry stay alive, as what the argument from NEA is, right? So anyways, hope this was helpful. If you have any thoughts, comments, please leave them here on the video. Love to engage with y'all. Until next time, spread love, positivity, and kindness in the world. Peace, my friends.